Wow, hi. Yeah, there we go. One nice warm welcome.
Yeah,
and
only one person.
27 people leaving. Just kidding.
No.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I am super excited to be talking with you today. I will confess I kind of cyber-stalked you a little bit to prepare for this.
You did?
I did. Between your podcast, Starving for Attention, you should all subscribe and listen to it. It's fantastic interviews with chefs from all over the country. But I've learned two things. Is one, you're very energetic. You're very busy. And also, you think about technology a lot. Like, you're very honest about it.
I'd like to think so. Yeah, with everything, generally speaking.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So my first question here is just sort of a general one.
Yeah.
As you think about technology, and you run a number of restaurants, right? Like, you're a hyphenate. You've got so many things. Where are we at with technology versus where you would like to be?
Oh, wow. I mean, I think that, where are we at with technology? Every day you can walk this floor and there's some inspiring new tool or machine or app that can help me run my business more efficiently, or that can also help us create a better experience. So, I mean, I think it's a beautiful time. I think one thing to be aware of, which I think doesn't come up in a venue like this where there's so much tech energy, is that in the food space, there's always been this incredible sort of pull between like the new and the old, right? There's like this Biggie Tupac thing happening in food always, where, yeah, okay, there's one hip-hop fan out there. I appreciate that. What up? Is Brooklyn in the house? Oh, Brooklyn is in the house. That was a genuine, like, you're from Queens, don't lie, okay? But there is this thing with food where it's like, okay, you have, sous vide technology as an example, and there's a couple of companies out there, talking sous vide, but then what's really hot in like fancy restaurants right now, it's like, we only cook food from a wood-burning stove, right? And like those two worlds are always there. So I think that's, to me, one of the things that drive our restaurants is making sure that we don't push too hard to one side. Basically what I'm saying is I want a robot to cook food on a wood-fired grill, Yeah.
All right, well, actually, since we're on robots, let's talk about that, because
Sure.
robots are up and coming, right? What role do you see them in? You have a number of different restaurants, and it seems like they're good for kind of repetitive, dangerous tasks, that you could do that are better than humans.
Are you saying liquid nitrogen milkshakes are dangerous? Okay. Yeah, I mean, I do. I mean, obviously, I see robotics on the prep side of things, and helping out restaurants that have multiple locations and commissary kitchens and are producing high volume things for sure. Just remember, like, Luke Skywalker had robots. He was also a farmer. I don't know. That's just like he was, right? I'm pretty sure. So like I think that it's great to I would love again to see sort of robots eventually in my kitchens doing those tasks that I don't think there's maybe anything super dangerous happening in my kitchens, but that are repetitive. As an example, I have fast casual restaurants where we make our own French fries, it's a 3-day process, and it's like I could do a whole 45 minutes on just how we make French fries. I won't. Okay, I'm already losing that guy over there. But I can see certainly where automation and robots, could step into even my own businesses.
Yeah, I think Luke made artisanal blue milk, is what handcrafted,
Yes.
single-sourced blue milk.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, as you are building out these restaurants now, what is the role of delivery? Like, how do you think about delivery? Delivery is such a huge. It makes so much news in our space today. Do you think about it actively? Is it an afterthought, or is it something you are actively preparing for now as you build out different restaurants?
I think about it incredibly actively, sometimes in a fantastical sort of way. One of my favorite, ideas is, do you guys love donuts? Yeah, I love donuts, and but I want that donut from Portland and Seattle and LA and Brooklyn. I want them all delivered to my house, as a dozen. I don't want to just go to one shop. So I've always had this silly, comical dream to open up a company that delivers donuts via drone, called Dronuts. And if you guys are down, I don't know. I'm not doing a startup pitch today, but I could come back out for 10 minutes and we could sort of chat through it. So I'm always thinking about delivery and even something like that. And I actually think that that's kind of a key to my inspiration, or what we're saying here, it's the kitchen as an innovative engine, is for me, a lot of good ideas come through fantasy or comedy. Right? And I think especially with a lot of large companies, you're afraid to say something that sounds ridiculous or stupid, perhaps, right? but that, look at the world we're in. There is a robot delivering drinks outside, and like there are companies that are doing all these amazing things. As far as delivery goes, you can fight it as a restaurateur, but you should jump all in on it because, my fast casual restaurant now, we're doing upwards in a couple locations of 30% of the business is via delivery apps, and like we don't discriminate. I mean, we have so much hardware in our kitchens, from all of the different companies that are just pinging to have people get food delivered. So, 30% of sales is kind of crazy. It makes me think that maybe we don't even need a physical storefront, which is something that I know backstage we were talking about, the idea of the ghost restaurant or the restaurant that only exists in a digital capacity, which obviously saves a ton of money on rent and perhaps labor and, all sorts of things.
Right, and you see those spaces popping up, the commercial kitchens where you can create those virtual spaces. But in your restaurants now, are you having to rethink, like physically alter the space that you're in to accommodate not only all the tablets that you set up for different services, but cars coming in and out and people coming in and out and possibly disrupting other eaters? Or how do you think about that?
Yeah, no, that's, one of my restaurants, we're in a sort of early stage of growth. We're opening up our 5th location of Crack Shack, which is it's chicken and eggs. It's crack, it's not, okay. We're opening up our 5th location in Pasadena and our 6th in Las Vegas. We now need to start thinking about, what happens when there's, 7 cars now pulling up to pick up their orders. It's not something that we've figured out quite yet, but it is something that we have to look into, of course.
Sticking on sort of how you are creating your restaurants and as you envision them, you're big on Instagram. Richard Blais, you follow him on Instagram, Richard Blais.
I'm also a DJ. If you guys want to do private events, I'll come spin for you. I was my DJ name. I lost a lot of weight. I don't know if you guys know. I lost like 70 pounds, within the last 10 years.
Give him a round of applause for that.
Thanks.
Come on.
Yeah. Usually people just applaud organically, but you guys had to be prompted. That's okay. But when I was a little heavier, my DJ name, which I thought was appropriate at the time, my DJ name was Heavy Cream. But then after I lost weight, I felt like it didn't fit, but I still DJ, so I changed my DJ name to Creme Fraiche. Maybe we're still keeping it in the dairy family. Still keeping it in the dairy family.
I don't even know what to do with that, but that is fantastic.
Sorry, guys.
Creme Fraiche, everybody. Creme Fraiche. No, but you're active on Instagram. Also, Starving for Pod, your podcast is active on Instagram.
Yeah.
Do you have to think about how you're presenting or even lighting your restaurant now that everybody is taking pictures of their food?
Yeah, my more fine dining restaurant, Juniper and Ivy, down in San Diego, is a typical restaurant. It's sort of dark and somewhat romantic, and if you shoot photos in that restaurant at nighttime, all the food looks like garbage, which is just a problem in restaurants generally. I actually would maybe we should put on the reservation, we should stipulate, if you want to take photos of the food, show up only between 5 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. Maybe we should do some magic hour, sort of cocktails, sort of happy hour sort of thing. But yeah, definitely, some of my other restaurants, a lot of them are almost entirely outside. They're all based in Southern California. So the lighting is always great and the food looks great because you're outside and it's, we've sort of accidentally sort of fallen upon a way to make the food look delicious without trying. But we do need to think about those things, of course.
And I want to go a little further out into the tech space. I heard you speak recently in one of your podcasts. You were talking about using data. This is going to sound weird at first, but to track movements of people inside your restaurant. It would be that the staff or even customers to understand where people are going. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. From the legal perspective, or no? Okay. Here's the thing. I'm a massive sports fan, right? So I think one of the things, even in the restaurant world, that isn't happening enough is data collection, right? We think about restaurants and data collection as far as from the guest's perspective, but no one is really tapping into tracking data and stats, if you will, because I'm a sports guy, from the actual, internally, from the actual participants in the restaurant. And, again, being a big sports fan, if you've watched recently, a baseball game and you're bat angle arc and exit velocity, these are baseball stats that, didn't exist literally 5 years ago, no one was tracking these sort of things, and it's then gone back and changed the way people are swinging baseball bats, right? Look at all the home runs that have been hit this year. So I know that there's tons of data like that that's available in the kitchen. Just no one is really going out there and sort of tracking that, whether it's the movements of your grill cook or how many steps your host takes into the restaurant. There's a lot of fun things that, I don't even know where it would go. I just know that once you start looking at the data, then you would say, yeah, my center midfielder walked 9 miles today, and my grill cook just spun around the walk-in all day. And even if you looked at that and then figured out, well, then where does robotics come into play, knowing that we have the physical steps of the restaurant staff and how to sort of take that and automate that, I think there's a lot of data to be collected internally in restaurants.
Could you ever envision a scenario where almost like, I don't know if you're only here for a brief time, but the Amazon Go store up here, where it just uses all computer vision, so it knows as you walk in, you use your app, and it knows what you take and you pay as you walk out without encountering anything. Does that kind of idea, using computer vision and tracking, being able to see kind of what people are ordering? People have said they don't mind facial recognition in restaurants, according to statistics, especially for loyalty programs. So I don't know, I guess what I'm saying is, as you're looking at tracking data for not only your employees, but people, but creating almost like a cashierless experience for them as well, using cameras mounted on the ceiling or whatever.
Yeah, I think probably everyone in this room, I'm down. I'm okay with that. I think it also, though, going back to the thing about restaurants, is it depends on what that experience is. Fast casual place, not a problem. But the more that we push towards the future, it's going to open up even a bigger market for the traditional sit-down restaurant that's cooking food that wasn't in a plastic bag, cooked at 64 degrees Celsius for 72 hours.
Right.
Sorry to all my sous vide fans out there. It sort of creates this other thing. What's old is new. I think that's really important too. If you watch, even if you just take cues from Hollywood, I love the Avengers. You guys love those movies? Yeah, there we go. Nerds in the house representing. Only 2 of you. You're lying, by the way. The Avengers are from the 60s. It's just been sort of reformatted, and every television show. Murphy Brown is a television show now, again, right? So
yeah.
I think in the food world, it's important to remember that there's a reason why certain things are classics or historical or delicious.
So we talked about Instagram in the front of the house, right? People needing to take photos of their food. Here's the thing, I'm almost exhausted watching you on social media, because you are, you're at different festivals, you're cooking different things. I see you dumping hot water into something to create steam, and that's on a loop on your Instagram feed.
First of all, it's liquid nitrogen exploding gazpacho, which is a total different marketing word than pouring hot water into it to create steam, just to be clear.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I just...
Yeah, okay. Yeah, potato.
I'm available to do corporate events, bar mitzvahs, guys. You want to see liquid nitrogen exploding gazpacho at your next get-together. You want to see this.
In fact, let's wheel out a vat in liquid nitrogen right now. But how much do you need, and I would say just as a rule we're talking about innovation in the kitchen, what do chefs need to do, or people who run restaurants, on the back of the house in terms of social media in order to leverage that to get, just to exist or thrive?
I haven't really thought about it just yet, but there is everyone's in the pursuit of going viral, right? From the business perspective, from just as being an artist, everyone wants something to sell and wants to be loved and wants to see those hearts and those likes and those thumbs up and all of that. For me, that's what drives me to do these sort of things, and even more so now with social media. I spend hours at a time, some of you probably, just watching someone cut into an egg yolk. I waste so much time of my life watching egg yolks ooze over avocado toast. But I think it's great because it drives us in the kitchen to sort of create things that are almost, I try and consider each dish a brand in and of itself, which is really interesting. We are in the kitchen trying to create things that go viral, not just for the sake of being important on Instagram or social media, but because of doing something new and doing something that's exciting and memorable, or that's an experience. Did I answer your question?
You did.
Okay, I was going to say I should be a politician. I talked for 5 minutes. I didn't answer the question, but everyone was like, yeah, totally. I feel you.
Your hair is way too cool to be a politician.
With the moisture today, it's not my best hair day.
So with that, what does a chef what understanding should a chef have now? Like, it seems like a chef just can't be a chef anymore. They need to be a videographer. They need to be a social media person. They need to be up on technology to understand if they can't afford to implement a robot right now, is that something that should be on their radar? Like, what kind of hyphenate does a person need to be in order to be a successful restaurateur now?
Well, I mean, you all know better than I do, but I would say that that's, any founder, right? Any sort of startup has to be everything all the time, right? They have to do their own PR, they have to do their own marketing, they have to be the creator, they have to do sales. So I think that's really important just for anyone who's trying to do something and succeed or grow their brand, to try and wear many different hats. It's also fun, right? I mean, for chefs, there's also this sort of thing is like, chefs are rock stars. They weren't rock stars, 10 years ago. So like it's kind of amazing to even have the opportunity to have a platform, and to be on stages like this, but also like, in a couple days, I'll be opening for Post Malone. Like, that's a true story. Like, that's insane. No one here knows who Post Malone is. Okay.
You're a psycho.
Way to go. Way to just like build your street cred up. So you have to do different things. You have to be an entertainer. You have to educate, and it's fun, right? Cooking steaks all day for 18 hours a day in the back of a room behind a closed wall isn't quite as fun. That's why the robots can do that. The robots can do that stuff.
Go robots. All right, when for you does technology, as it relates to cooking, jump the shark? Like, when does it become too much about technology and not enough about the food?
I mean, I think only when that thing that is being prepared ultimately isn't delicious, right? So I think this is that. I mean, it's food. Like, that's going to always be the ultimate judge. Is that thing delicious? I judge so many television shows. I host television shows, and like I've always noticed that when a judge on a television show says, "That's interesting," that's never a good thing for the person who cooked that food, because like, interesting doesn't usually mean delicious. It has to be delicious and interesting, right? So I think when you start talking about these advanced sort of things like 3D printers and stuff like that, it's amazing, right? I think that would be an awesome business card at the moment to like give someone like an edible business card. Like, it's kind of what I do, but like, but I think it's got to be delicious. So I think that's when it, I don't want to say jump the shark. I feel like that's mean. It's Fonzie on the he's getting ready to jump the shark, but like, until it's not, if you're just like, hey, it doesn't have to be delicious, it's not going to work.
Okay, yeah, as there are more tools now available to cooks, that's more affordable than ever, right? Like, it just seems, even you were talking about using video projection, I think, at one point, experimenting with that. And so I was just wondering, as we get like VR or tableside robots or things like, you seem excited. What about VR?
I'm very excited about VR. I'm very excited about, I'm excited about VR. I'm excited about AR in a number of different ways. I'm excited about, what are you calling now, smell-o-vision, and the idea to combine aroma with, VR. To me, that's real. As a chef, that's really exciting, because aroma is flavor, right? Like, we're taught as chefs, and it's like an easy test to do. If you put your fingers around your nose and you taste something, you won't know what you're tasting. If you blindfold yourself and do that, you have no idea what you're, like, the best chef in the world, we can get 10 of them up here and do 10 blindfolded, nose pin closed tastings, and they won't know what they're eating. They might be able to be like, is it a mushroom? Is it mozzarella cheese? I don't know, right? So aroma is so important. So I'm excited about that. You've ever been on those rides, like, you go to Disney and you're on like the virtual reality ride, and then like you're flying over like, you're flying over the jungle, and then the aroma of elephant poop comes out, right? And then you're like, that's amazing. It's elephant poop, right? I mean, that's how excited you get over poop. So imagine when like you're combining aromas that are really nice. Yeah. So I'm excited about that stuff, and I'm excited about, like, even in the pop-up world and in the art world. I mean, listen, Willy Wonka. I mean, Willy Wonka was doing some dope things, right? A 3-course gobstopper? Are you kidding me? Like, I want to. Yeah, let's do that. Let's walk. Let's lick walls. Let's do it, everyone. Matter of fact, tonight no, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
At the Gum Wall here in Seattle, just a few blocks away.
Right.
All right. Well, we've got less than a minute left.
Oh my gosh! Shot clock.
If you subscribe to Starving for Attention. One of the things he does with his guests is play a game. We're going to play a quick game. I call this Hot Takes with Richard Blais. See how I did there? For you, these are just fun kind of questions. Marathon or free weights?
Wow. Free weights are easier.
Okay.
But I'll say marathon. Marathon.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
marathon. Because
All
it's
right.
like it builds like, mental strength.
You play fantasy football. If you were to do a fantasy chef league, who's your top draft?
Wow, I played fantasy football for the first time in 10 years this year. Oh my God, talk about data and metrics. In the old days, it was a pencil and Sports Illustrated.
Right. Yeah.
Wow, I'm gonna flip your question. I don't know, I'll take Wally Dufresne to just answer your question and be polite. But more importantly, I wanna create the fantasy food world. One of my dreams is to create basically the UFC of cooking and to actually create an actual league that's just not one, episode of one television show where great chefs compete in the octagon. No, we can't say octagon, but you know what I mean. I want to be the Conor McGregor. No, that's not what I want to be. Okay.
There's going to be a brawl that's going to split into... so that's
Me
interesting.
and that robot right after this, right in that hallway.
So like an actual league that's like over a season?
A league that actually, where cooking is competitive. It is physical. It is a sport, quite honestly. You see it on TV all the time. You root for people. And then also knowing that you can do that and then attach it to the fantasy side of it so that you at home can watch it and also play at the same time. That's where it's at.
That's fantastic. And we're going to end on that. Please give a big round of applause for celebrity chef Richard Blais. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.